Hello and welcome back to another episode of Strong Collectors Comics. I'm your host Jordan, joined today as ever by my plucky co-host Dakota. Now you may or may not have seen a video of us talking about Ironheart not too long ago. Now Dakota was of the mindset that he was very excited for Ironheart. I was a little on the fence, but he talked to me about it a bit. And I was a little surprised, Dakota, to see quite a few comments from some rather, dare I say, angry, perhaps at least disgruntled commenters.
Hot and bothered for sure.
Hot and bothered is probably the best way to describe it. That were, I don't think most of them watched the video. Dakota, you can tell me if I'm wrong on that. But it really, folks, the video was Dakota saying he's excited, me saying that's interesting, I'm not too pumped, but what do you like about it? And we talked about it. And most of the comments, I don't know, 80% probably, were saying Ironheart sucks, this is horrible, it's the worst thing ever. And plot twist was the episode hadn't even come out yet, right? Like none of the show was released, which you see the negative chatter online, and we mentioned that in the video, you know, people getting upset ahead of time. It was a little surprising to me, though, to see so many people that were just super angry and saying not only does this suck, but like everyone else kind of needs to think it sucks when something hasn't even come out. Which, I'm going to be honest, I don't really get. And if anyone in the comments feels that way, if you could write a comment that explains that in a way that we can read and understand in
Yeah.
you know, the English language. If it's another language, that's okay, but as long as it's a grammatically coherent thought, we would appreciate it, because most of the arguments are very like, it doesn't even, it just kind of is repeating things that I've seen commented or posted online in other videos, which I don't know, maybe I give a lot of credit and I have a lot of faith in the comic fans and their ability to think critically, to be open-minded.
Maybe that's where you went wrong, Jordan.
Maybe that's where I went wrong. I don't know. Dakota, what do you make of all this? You tell me. Am I way off? I
think
going nuts?
No, you're never way off.
Are
Jordan.
my feelings just hurt because I want everyone to comment and say how good looking your Hawaiian shirts are?
You know, you would think that would maybe like there'd be some of those sprinkled in, but
yeah,
no, that was not that this channel is our most popular and not the most popular on YouTube either. It'll get there someday, I hope, but you would think that we just insulted everyone's mother and sister and they came for us in the comments. Like, heaven forbid I'm a little excited about a new superhero show, because that was the biggest insult some of those folks could have ever heard in their life. Even one of the comments, like, they commented like something about like, oh, the show is this, and that, and I was almost like, oh dang, I kind of got like spoilers from reading the comment, and then I watched all 3 of the episodes that are out, and none of what that guy said happened. So I was like, okay, you hated it for this reason that you commented about that's not even what the show is.
Right.
I think, like I said, I watched the first 3 episodes. I think it's good. I will give it a critique of, I don't think it's what it should be.
Okay.
I think they've made it for adults, and I didn't think it was supposed to be made for only adults, because there's a little too much swearing in there. It's a little spooky. So I don't think I could show this to my 7-year-old niece. Yeah.
Right.
The Hood is a little bit more creepy than I was expecting. In the comics, he's a threat, but he's never been like somebody that I'm like super worried about if I was a superhero. Again, we're dealing with Ironheart here, so she's kind of, she's no Thor. But I think this is shaping up to be a really cool like Hood show even.
Okay.
Like Ironheart has her pieces in it, but yeah. The Hood in it is very cool. I think you're going to be pretty excited to see it when you watch it.
Yeah, because as of now, I still have not seen any. I'm planning to watch some, and I'm excited for it. I do think that was kind of a point you'd made in our last video, was this idea of, Ironheart bringing in newer fans. I know you said like the tone would kind of determine some of that, right? If it was darker, if it was lighter, whatever. But I do think you touched on a good point regardless, because a lot of people I think are feeling, oh, this is, an Iron Man ripoff, or this is, whatever. and I think you have to realize, like, there is a different demographic Ironheart could appeal to than just doing another Iron Man show or an Iron Man prequel show or whatever. And I think that is important, and you made that point too, of like comic shows or comics in general do need to be doing new things to bring in new fans, right? Because otherwise it's just the same group, and we're seeing the same stories kind of over and over and over and over again, which, like, I guess it's cool to see Wolverine again to give you that fuzzy feeling you had, you know, when you were a kid reading Wolverine comics. But at some point, for me, honestly, I would like to see more new things, you know, and I think it is kind of telling that, like, Wolverine is about the same character he was in, like the 80s or the 70s, and by, you know, or like as far back as you go, like there's little evolution in things, but like he's still the hottest selling X-Man, and he's like who has been created that really is like a standout character that competes. Because if you went back to the original appearance, I think, of that team with Chris Claremont, this is a little history lesson for you nerds out there who maybe aren't paying attention. But you had the original X-Men, right? You had Beast, Iceman, Jean, Marvel Girl, Cyclops, and Angel. And like what Chris Claremont did, he came on and pretty much everybody left except for Cyclops. And he replaced them. You had new characters. You had Wolverine. You had Colossus. You had Storm. We brought in Nightcrawler there, I think. Maybe he might have been a little later. But you also had, like, is it
Sunspot?
Sunspot and Thunderbird. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And I think maybe I'm going on a limb here, but if something like that happened today, I think you would kind of get the woke accusations. You'd say you got rid of the original team. You know, you replaced them with kind of DEI. You know, a black woman, an Asian guy. You know, Native American guy, like that.
Canadian.
Well, there you go. And that actually, to me, would be a pretty ballsy move as a writer, to be like, I'm going to basically take this team and pick one guy, and I'm going to create a whole bunch of new characters. I'm going to try to keep some of the same themes, but I'm doing something new. And I think that would actually be really hard to do in like today's climate. If you were like, I'm going to kind of get rid of these X-Men or get rid of these characters that you know and love and try to introduce a bunch of new ones to give you something new. And if we hadn't had that, how many iconic X-Men would we not have today? You know, if they would have just said, you know what, we're going to keep doing the same 5 for forever. Maybe you see a new guy every once in a while. And I think that is kind of the problem with that, is if people are just going to, as soon as you hear something's changing in comics or in comic movies, you're going to reject it without, like, even giving it a chance. Or just letting the people who do want to see something new enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think, like, that almost, like, I think both of us have this feeling of, like, whatever project Marvel does, like, we want to support it in at least some way. Like, maybe I won't go watch every movie in theaters like I used to. Mm-hmm. But I'm still going to, at some point, I will eventually watch every Marvel movie that's ever come out. DC, I feel a little less pull to watch all those. I still haven't seen Blue Beetle. I still haven't seen the second Shazam. I still haven't seen Flashpoint or whatever that movie was called. I don't even know what it's called. I kind of wasn't too worried about those. But if MCU's doing a project, I'm going to support it, because I think, I've said this a lot too, but like with the popularity growing of superheroes, like I'm excited for that. Like we're getting Ironheart as a character who wasn't even around when I was a kid watching the old Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies or whatever was even before that. So I'm excited for where we are, even though there's all this back and forth of like MCU's dead, MCU's back. Even if it's a show I don't like, I'm still happy that it's on the screen. For me, I get that some people are like, oh, just do good stuff. You're probably that way, Jordan. Your grumpy pants are on a little tighter than mine. I will accept everything that the MCU does, and I might hope that it's better. But I'm thankful that it's there in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I think what's good about the newer stuff, regardless whether it's comics or even shows, you're less reliant on kind of the nostalgia bait of like, well, you love this character, so you're inherently kind of going to accept whatever we do, whether it's good or not. You know, I think I think people should flip their perspective of that to probably be a little more critical of like a Thor 4, or you know what I mean, rather than like we're gonna bring the hammer down, pun intended, on Ironheart, because it's like Ironheart is a character that really you got to rely on having a good story, having some good characters, because you can't pull in a whole ton of nostalgia because it doesn't really exist. And I think that's what people confuse is like, well, nobody asked for this, but like, I mean, you've said that too. Like nobody has asked for anything that didn't exist until it was made. You know, like that. That's kind of doesn't make any sense as an argument. But also, I think you should be more excited because then you say, well, this story is going to have to do something new, otherwise it won't succeed because it's relying on something we've never seen before, and it might give a new spin on something that we haven't seen.
And I do think a lot of the characters in Ironheart right now are really good. Like the Red Hood's crew, John is like his brother, Slug, Roz, Clown, like everybody in there. Like some of there's like a little overreacting sometimes, or like overacting sometimes. But I think in general, very good crew. Like the Hood and John are both like super good characters. Even like Natalie is fun. Riri's AI. And there's like, I think it's in episode 3. It's like a part that like, I won't like spoil it for anybody. Not that it's really a spoiler, but just like when you get to it, let me know.
Okay.
I was like they said the line and I was like, oh, it was like bring a tear to my eye. I was just like in one line, it's probably the quickest I've ever like felt emotion out of a TV show. Like there's usually like that build to sadness. That was just one line of like, oh, that just crushed me. So I'm curious to know what you think when you get to that point. Again, it's not like a giant spoiler, but I was just like, wow, that was big.
Right. I hope I can let you know instantly when it happens. The moral of the story here, folks, is please don't reject things just because they're new. And if you really don't like them, you don't add a whole lot to the world by letting the whole world know that you don't like something that other people like. It doesn't actually make you happier. It might for a second, but it doesn't last. That's what we have to say about Ironheart and the state of comics and new things and all that good stuff. If you want to hear more thoughts, you can go back, watch some of our old videos. You can go back and watch our video of Ironheart, either to attack or defend us. You pick. Please be liking, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, as always, stay strong.